सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। The lesson states of consciousness. The topic, the fourth state. In the topic, the fourth state, we are going to study the four means to gain knowledge. The four means to gain knowledge. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, and Agama. The human being, when the human being gains the knowledge, is it okay now if I speak loudly? Huh? Or is it still very low?
Are you speaking loudly? Are you speaking loudly, sir?
Yeah, I am speaking really loudly.
Oh God. Just India higher vechirken.
Okay, okay. ஒரே நிமிஷம். I will try to see whether mic la edavadha irukanu paakren. Yeah.
Now it's good, sir.
Huh? It's okay.
Now you are loud. You can talk softly. You can talk softly.
Okay, okay. Okay. Yeah. Human being has these four ways of gaining knowledge. As we go deeper and deeper into the subject, there are 6 ways, 7 ways, 9, 13, the subdivisions. It goes on increasing. So what we are doing here is, we are not really getting into the subdivisional study. We are restricting it to the main, the 4 fundamental principles involved in gaining knowledge. The 4 fundamental principles involved in gaining knowledge. The first one is direct perception by senses. When we say pratyaksha, what is implied here is the instrument of giving you the direct knowledge is the senses. So pratyaksha means direct knowledge gained by the senses. That is one source of knowledge. If the senses themselves can give complete knowledge, if the senses themselves can give right knowledge, you need not, the other methods of knowledge is not relevant at all. Though senses gives you a knowledge, we are in need of the other sources of knowledge, because senses by themselves don't give you a complete knowledge. So what you gather through the senses has to be processed in other ways also. The knowledge that you gain through the senses also has to be processed by other means. The other means are known as Anumana, Upamana. Anumana, Upama. Then comes the tradition, the Agama. Agama, I'll come to it late. So, first thing is, I come to know about the world. Remember, knowledge means it should reveal the subject and it should reveal the object. Then only it is knowledge. Knowledge means it should say something about you and it should say something about the object. Something about the you, something about the object. That is why when the senses starts functioning, you recognize your own self. So that is where you say, I see. So knowledge gives you two things here. What are the two things that knowledge gives you when you say, I see? One is the cognition of yourself. Another is the cognition of the object. Knowledge. So knowledge reveals two, the subject as well as the object. What are the two? One is you say, I know. I know I am seeing. I know that I am hearing. So knowledge reveals the subject and knowledge reveals the object. The first method, the first instrument through which we gain this knowledge is through what is known as senses. The knowledge that is gained through the senses is called pratyaksha. But pratyaksha alone cannot give you the complete knowledge. For what is the second definition of knowledge? Knowledge reveals the subject and knowledge reveals the object. Second thing about the knowledge is it should reveal the object as it is. That is knowledge. Again, when you study the Tarka, Mimamsa, Nyaya Shastras, they will teach you all these things. And those are all preparatory. Those are all the preparatory sciences that you need to study before you come into Vedanta. Ipo ellam chivudava, we are mixing up everything because nobody goes through that. Nobody is going through that gradual systematic process. It is like one day we study 10th standard, one day we study 12th standard, one day we study PhD, one day we sit LKG. So we are like that. We are like that. What is the proper way of gaining knowledge? Go through you understand the analytical methods first. You know the analytical methods first. What are the analytical methods involved in the gaining knowledge? Vedanta. See, we keep saying Vedanta is logical, Vedanta is scientific. Based on what? Based on these four. Based on what based on what we are discussing now. On this ground, we say Vedanta is logical, scientific. Why? Because it goes through these proper methods of gaining knowledge. So what is the first method of gaining knowledge? Okay, before going to the method, I will describe what knowledge means. Knowledge means it reveals the subject and the object. Number two, it should reveal the object as it is. That is knowledge. As it is. It should reveal the object as it is. Then only knowledge is complete. Then only knowledge is complete, perfect. To gain the knowledge, the very fact that we say gain knowledge means it is implied knowledge is not obvious. Very, very important to understand this. The very fact that we say gain knowledge means it is not obvious. If it is obvious, there is no need to say gain knowledge. If it is obvious, there is no need to say gain knowledge. It means knowledge is not obvious, or that which is obvious is not knowledge. Yeah, these are all, I tell you, this is with lot of self-control and self-discipline. I'm talking about this topic. I tell you, this is such a wonderful topic to know the sources of knowledge and the analytical methods of Vedanta upon which the entire knowledge is resting. Why we have so much of value to this knowledge? Not because it is very old, not because it is very ancient. The methodology that they have involved is so foolproof, so scientific, so complete. The methodology here is. As we go along, we will try to expound and see as much as we can. So, first thing is you gain knowledge through the senses. Why we cannot take the knowledge of the senses as the absolute knowledge? We cannot take the knowledge of the senses as absolute knowledge because of the very limitation of the senses. They glass da, yeah. I don't see anything. I am seeing. If I see like this, I'm not seeing anything. If I see like this, I'm able to see at least vaguely some shadows. Somebody, I'm vaguely seeing some shadows sitting. So the senses don't give you perfect knowledge. The senses doesn't give you the perfect knowledge because the senses themselves are limited by nature. One. Second is the senses can be very defective also. Even the perfect eye is a limited eye in terms of capability. Even that limited perfect eye can be defective. Therefore, we take pratyaksha as a valid means of gathering data, but you do not conclude anything based on perception. So you gather data through perceptions, but you do not conclude anything based on perceptions. Why? Because of these two factors. What are the two factors? The instruments are limited, and the limited instrument themselves can be very defective. Therefore, first source of knowledge is pratyaksha. The object that you are trying to inquire is the crux. The object that you are trying to inquire must be under the purview of the instrument. If the object that you are trying to inquire is beyond the capability, beyond the ability of the instrument, then you need other methods. What is the subject matter of Vedanta? What is the subject matter of Vedanta? Adhula no doubt illiye yarkume. The subject matter of Vedanta is Brahman. Brahman. Atman is the subject matter of Vedanta. And that Atman is not under the purview of the senses. Therefore, senses can give you some data about the world, but it cannot teach you anything about Atman, because the subject matter that we are trying to inquire and understand is beyond the purview of the senses. during Ganesh Chaturthi, you go and buy a clay idol of Ganesha. When you are buying a clay idol of Ganesha, it is just a clay doll. It is not a Ganesha. It is just a doll. It is not Ganesha. Only when you bring in and when you mentally invoke Ganesha, it becomes Ganesha. Are you able to follow? Are you okay till now? Next step you will understand. So that clay will appear as Ganesha to whom? To the one who has invoked, not to everybody. Only to the one who has invoked, not to everybody. For everybody's eyes will say it as a doll. It's a Ganesha doll. There is no, and you will not expect that doll to come and solve your problems. You will not expect that doll to sort out your issues. No. But then the moment you invoke Ganesha, what has happened? It is no more a doll. It has turned into the idol. It has become Ganesha. To whom that Ganesha is perceivable? To whom that it is perceivable? To one who has invoked Ganesha. Are you able to follow? It means the senses gives you the knowledge that it is a clay doll, but you have done something else out of that. You understand that it is not just the clay doll Ganesha, it is representing Brahman. It is a symbolic representation of Brahman. The moment we say it is symbolic representation of Brahman, what is implied here? Pratyaksha cannot give you knowledge of Brahman. It's only symbolic. Pratyaksha cannot give you direct knowledge of Brahman. But sir, it is not, but then it is experience, no? Anubhava, no sir. What is Anubhava? Again of the senses only. What is Anubhava? Through what you experience. Through what you experience. You experience through the senses. Therefore, first thing that you understand is what? Pratyaksha can help you if the object is not distant, if the object is not subtle. Carefully follow. Pratyaksha can reveal only that which, if the object is not subtle, it is not distant, neither it is too near. Neither it is too near, neither it is too far, neither in darkness nor in bright light, or covered with all the definitions of Brahman is that. All the definition of Brahman is what? Tad dure, tad antike, closer than the closest you can't see. Yeah. Just to demonstrate, I keep adjusting. Yeah, because that right distance you can see. I come too close, you don't see me. Yeah. If I come too close, at some point of time you will start seeing something else which is entirely different from Arvind. Are you able to follow? Therefore, for Pratyaksha, for you to gain a knowledge through Pratyaksha, conditions are there. What are the conditions? It shouldn't be It shouldn't be too far. It shouldn't be too near. It shouldn't be in complete darkness. It shouldn't be in bright light either, nor it should be covered. So when these things are there, you understand, you gain the knowledge of some object. This is called pratyaksha. Are you able to follow? So when you understand something under so many conditions, that is called conditioned knowledge. It is called conditioned knowledge. It is not revealing the object as it is conditioned. Inniki konjam very mathematical class today. Yeah. For a change. Yeah. Otherwise, we are not, for a change, we are going to have a very mathematical class today. This is as far as pratyaksha goes. Therefore, what do you understand? What pratyaksha can reveal, what pratyaksha cannot reveal. So you are very clear. You are very clear as to what pratyaksha can reveal, what pratyaksha cannot reveal. Abdinna, avara paathale kettavara theriyudhu sir, you can't say. Paathale nallavara irukkaru, that also you cannot say. Are you able to follow? I saw paathale abdiye tejasa irukku sir avara paathale. இன்னொருத்தர பார்த்தாலே அப்படியே இல்லையா சனீஸ்வர மாதிரி இருக்குது இல்லையா, so black and dark. You can't say all that. Why? Because pratyaksha doesn't reveal the object as it is. Are you okay about pratyaksha till now? Then comes Anumanam, inference. Inference is a conclusion based on perception. So pratyaksha plus something equals inference. Pratyaksha plus something equals inference. In the distant hill, you see smoke. Based on your prior knowledge, your prior experience, you say there is fire, but it could be fog, it could be cloud. It could be fog, it could be cloud. Not necessarily it is fire. Therefore, inference gives you a greater knowledge, but still limited. Why? Because it could be smoke, it could be fog, it could be cloud. Okay, smoke, cloud, fog illana kanla cataract irukum. There could be cataract in the eyes where you see a smoke. So inference. What is inference? Inference is you organize the sensory perceptions in a logical, sequential way and arrive at a more reliable conclusion. Are you able to follow what is inference now? You organize the data gathered in such a way that you come to a more reliable, reasonable conclusion, which is far superior to pratyaksha, but not complete in itself. This is pratyak. This is anumanam, inference. Inference is a kind of indicator to Brahman, the subject matter, Vedanta. Pratyaksha, zero. Pratyaksha is not helpful at all in any way for Brahma Vidya. Inference to some extent. How do we say? Inference doesn't give you Brahma Vidya. Inference is a method by which you can develop a conviction that there is something called Brahman. Inference. And what is the example for that? The example for that is extroverted life is mental agitations. Introverted life is more peaceful. Indisciplined life is painful. Disciplined life is blissful. This you can infer. Though the senses don't like discipline, no senses will come and say discipline me. Senses don't like discipline. Senses like to participate, indulge. Now, what is inference? Inference is a method by which you gain a reliable source of knowledge. What is the reliability? Better than pratyaksha. What is better than pratyaksha? You infer that, yes, indisciplined ways, extroverted ways leads to agitation. Introverted way leads to clarity, leads to peace. Are you okay till now? To the extent you have developed the ability to infer, to that extent your clarity increases. To the extent you have trained yourself to infer rightly, to that extent your clarity is more. That is where they say experience teaches. By doing something again and again and again, they develop a kind of an inferential ability. And that inferential ability makes them to say, I are able to follow? When they say experience is the best teacher, experience alone doesn't teach anything. But what happens is, by repeatedly doing something, a kind of inferential ability increases. So that person's knowledge is more reliable than the sensory perceptions. So what is inference? You understand? Physical body gives you some happiness, but that happiness is so fleeting, so temporary. Very soon it ends up in pain. You understand that? Physical body gives happiness. No doubt the senses gives you a kind of happiness, but the sensory happiness is not, they are not reliable. They are not reliable. They are temporary. Very soon happiness turns into pain. Correct? Example, first laddu, very good. Second laddu, immediately. Okay. Third laddu, too much. Fifth laddu, you feel like you will throw out. It means in the matter of few minutes, the physical joy turns into physical pain. The physical joy to turn into physical pain doesn't need years and years. It happens in a very few moments, it turns into pain. Are you able to follow? From this, what do you infer? From this, what do you infer? Physical pain, a physical joy are not that reliable. Compare it in comparison to an emotional joy. A person is able to give up the physical pleasure for an emotional joy, no? Under normal circumstances, I won't be able to sit in the metal chair for more than anybody for that matter. Anybody for that matter, and under normal circumstances, how long can you sit on a metal chair? How long can you sit? 15 minutes, 20 minutes max, that's all. When my daughter was in ICU, the whole night I have to sit on the, whole night I was sitting on the metal chair, and there was no that kind of physical discomfort. It means what? You understand that the physical pleasure is inferior, emotional joy is superior. Your own experience. But then from the experience, you have to infer this. This method of knowing is called inference. Compared to the physical pleasure and the emotional joy, an intellectual conviction. Standing for an intellectual conviction is far more joyful than what an emotional joy can give or what a physical pleasure can give. So what do you understand? A person is willing to give up the physical pleasure for an emotional joy. He is willing to give up the emotional joy for the intellectual ecstasy. It means what? As you go subtler and subtler and subtler in your personality, the joy content is also subtler and subtler. Then you take a jump. From intellect, you take a jump. What is the jump you take? If I were to realize myself, if I were to realize my true nature, my original nature, it has to be supreme. You infer the state of self-realization as supreme. This knowledge is called Anumanam. Anumana means inference. And inference needs data from the perceptions. But using the intellect, you organize the data to come to a more reliable conclusion. So the reliability of the conclusion is entirely dependent on the development of the intellect. The reliability of the conclusion is entirely dependent upon the strength of the intellect. This is the second method called Anumanam. The third method is Upamana. Upamana means comparison. What is comparison? You ask a person, have you seen Mars? Fellow says, no, I haven't seen Mars. Have you seen Mars planet? No, I haven't seen Mars planet. Have you not seen the pictures of Mars? No, I haven't. Picture comes out Mars ne yaro sonnada, I understand it as the picture of Mars. Therefore, I haven't seen the picture of Mars either. I have not seen Mars. I have not seen the picture of Mars, and I do not know what Mars is now. So I ask, what is Mars and how does it look like? Oh, அப்படின்னா உனக்கு மார்ஸ் பத்தி ஒண்ணுமே தெரியாதா? Oh, you know nothing about Mars then? Yes. Okay. Are you seeing the Earth? Yes. Mars is another planet like Earth. When you say Mars is another planet like Earth, the person gets the knowledge. What is the knowledge? Now I know what Mars is. How did he get this knowledge of Mars? What is the methodology that was adopted here? The methodology that is adopted here is called Upamana, comparison. By explaining the similarity, by taking the aspect of similarity, you teach something. That is called, this is called, what do you say? Upamanam. And Upamanam is a very important aspect of Vedantic study. In fact, in the states of consciousness, what are we comparing, Upama? Waking and dream state. To explain the unreliability of the waking state, it is compared with the dream state. So in comparison, you have to say how waking state is temporary. You want to teach the person how waking state is temporary. He doesn't understand that it is temporary. So what you do? You give a comparison. What is the comparison? Your own experience of dream state and deep sleep state. Your own experiences of waking, dream, and deep. Now, here, the methodology here used is not inference. The methodology here that is used is Upamanam. Are you able to follow? So, Anumanam is used and Upamana is used. I will come to the Agama, the fourth, last. I will come to that slightly delayed. I will come to it at the end. Before that, let us understand these three fully. To summarize these three, knowledge is cognition. Understand the definitions. Knowledge is cognition. Cognition that happens in buddhi. Cognition that happens in buddhi. Synonyms for knowledge is apprehension, consciousness, experience. All these are synonymous of knowledge. So whenever we use these words, Anubhava, apprehension, Jnanam, conscious, awareness, all are synonymously used to refer knowledge. Then I went on to say, knowledge reveals both the subject and the object. What is knowledge? Just as the light reveals objects, knowledge must reveal. Are you able to follow? Idike Upamana vandruthu already. Without it, very difficult to say. Already we have brought in a comparison. Are you able to follow? Just as the light reveals the object as it is, knowledge must reveal the object as it is. Right apprehension of an object is, right apprehension of the object is valid knowledge. Yeah. Invalid knowledge, wrong knowledge, that also you need to know. Right knowledge, there is something called right methods of knowledge. There is something called wrong methods of knowledge also. No. Yeah. What are that? Number one, invalid sources of knowledge, memory. Memory. That is why we say don't we don't rely on memory. Even though we use memory, we don't take memory as the valid source of knowledge. Why? We know memory is so, they say selective, no? They say selective, no? The second is samshaya, doubt. The third is wrong cognition, error. The fourth is hypothetical reasoning. Hypothetical reasoning means hypothetical reasoning. I'll give you example for all the four. I'll give you example for all the four. What is hypothetical reasoning? If there was no fire, there cannot be smoke. Hypothetical reasoning means involves a supposition, and that supposition is devoid of certainty. இதெல்லாம் ரொம்ப எலிமெண்டரி. இதெல்லாம் எலிமெண்டரி இன் திங்கிங். இதெல்லாம் intellect develop on. If you know at least the basics of these few, the intellect becomes. So what is hypothetical reasoning? Hypothetical reasoning is you bring in a supposition which is devoid of certainty, as in the case of the argument. If there were no fire, there cannot be smoke. This is called hypothetical reasoning. Error. What is error? Error is misapprehension of an object, and it doesn't correspond to the real object. This is called error. I'm not giving the Sanskrit names for all that. This way too much. What is error? Error is misapprehension. Example, we have seen this error knowledge. Any number of times we have seen this error knowledge. Example of this error in knowledge? Anybody? Correct. Rope and the snake. What you see is the rope, but what you understand is the snake. That is called error, and it is and it doesn't correspond to the real object. Third, doubt, samshaya. Doubt means uncertainty, uncertain cognition. Memory is not a valid knowledge. Why memory is not a valid knowledge? The technical word, just by heart this technical word. Because memory is representative, not presentative cognition. What are all the rules involved in thinking? After English, let translate panni, I am saying. These are all the rules involved in thinking in the Sanskrit texts. Memory is representative, not, it doesn't reveal it as It is not a presentative cognition. It is a representative cognition. Representative means influenced by something, influenced by the observer. So the knowledge of the object which is influenced by the observer and it comes is called memory, and this memory is unreliable. Yeah. These are the, I'm just summarizing it again, the three. Now, what are the wrong sources of knowledge? Error, doubt, hypothetical reasoning, and what is the fourth one I said? One is the memory. Correct. The fourth one is memory. My memory is very poor. I know the memory lende pesa kudadundrathu. Hypothetical memory, hypothetical reasoning, samshaya, and error. The four. What is the right value? What are the four valid sources of knowledge? Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Agama. So the four invalid sources of knowledge, and we are discussing the four valid sources of knowledge. Of the valid sources of knowledge, the first one is Pratyaksha. Pratyakshana, what happens? Sense organs must contact the object. And the sense organ ku pinnadi mind irukanum. And the mind ku pinnadi buddhi irukanum. Again I repeat. It is called Pratyaksha because it is the sense organs that contacts the sense objects. Sense organ by themselves cannot do. There has to be the mind and intellect behind that cognition. Therefore, in Pratyaksha, there is the mind and then there is the intellect. And Pratyaksha must give you a real knowledge. What is real knowledge means? Seeing the object not as that only, but also what? Again, I repeat. What to do? The Zoom classes are very advantage or disadvantage is I'm not seeing anybody. So it is like I am reading for myself. If I start seeing people, I start talking according to what? I'm not able to see. No stamp size half or blank. I really don't know who is there, what is there. So I am so happy because I am studying only for myself. So comfortable it is. So it's not my fault. Don't blame me. It's not my fault. So knowledge means you should see the rope as a rope, cow as a cow, and chair as a chair. So knowledge means rendu. That and what? Knowledge means that also what in a doubt. Next, yeah. You will not ask what for this because you know it already. What will you ask? Something is there, what? Are you able to follow? Paper clip because it is my study desk. No, all my paper clips are here. That's all. So knowledge reveals two things. What are the two things it reveals? It reveals what and it reveals that. It means it involves assimilation, discrimination, analysis, synthesis. All this cannot take you to Brahman. That's beauty. They talk about all this so beautifully, and then they say all this cannot take you to Brahman, because already we taught that. Already we saw that. What? For the senses to perceive, it shouldn't be too close, it shouldn't be too far. And the condition oda mix pannikonga. Are you able to follow? Seeing a white object at the far distance is seeing that. When it comes closer, you see it as white cow. He is seeing it as what? That and what? Seeing something moving in white color at a distance is seeing that. When it comes closer, or when you go closer, you see it as first that reveals, and then comes what? Pratyaksha reveals this. With all these, what can you understand? World you can understand. Brahman you cannot. Brahman you cannot understand. அப்புறமா இதுக்குள்ளே நிறைய மெத்தட்ஸ் இருக்கு. லௌகிகா, internal, external. I'm not going into those details, because that is too much. This is very broad knowledge as far as perception is concerned. Then comes the second way of gaining knowledge. What is the second way of gaining knowledge that we saw now? Inference, anumanam. We are very much interested in knowing all the three. And then understanding what is the difference between these three and agama. We have to see then we will be seeing the difference between this and that. Inferential knowledge is indirect knowledge, not pratyaksha. First thing about Anumana is inferential knowledge means inferential knowledge is an indirect knowledge. It arises through a cause. It arises through a cause. Prior knowledge. Where there is a smoke, there is fire. So wherever you see smoke, though you don't see fire, you shout fire. This is called Anumanam, inference. And what is the role of inference? Anumanam nale rendu word. Anu, after. Mana, prior knowledge. The very word Anumana itself means after prior knowledge. Literal English translate pannona, it comes after prior knowledge. Mana is prior knowledge. Anu means after. So what is inference? You have a prior knowledge. From that prior knowledge, you infer something. The third one is Upamanam. Upamanam is comparison of these three valid sources of knowledge cannot give you the knowledge of Brahman. These three sources of knowledge is discussed, and then we say neti to these three sources. We know these three sources of knowledge. We make use of these three sources of knowledge. We understand that there are these three sources of knowledge. And then we say neti. Because the subject matter, what we are studying, cannot be gotten, cannot be understood through this. What is this? First thing. As now we are coming to the fourth. Now we are coming to the fourth. Agama. Agama means tradition. Tradition doesn't mean old. Tradition means an independent source of knowledge which cannot be understood by the other three sources. If Brahman can be understood through Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, then you don't need the fourth source of knowledge. Clear that? Are you able to follow this? If Pratyaksha can teach, if knowledge is revealed through, if an object is revealed through one source, you don't need another source to reveal it. Why? Because it is revealed and it is complete. Why do you need another source? You need another source because the prior source cannot reveal that. We need Agama because Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana cannot reveal the subject matter. If Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana can reveal, we don't need to rely on Agama at all. The materialistic philosophy is purely sensory based. The materialistic philosophy is purely sensory based. Buddhism and other things are more logical based. Vedanta takes that also and it goes beyond that also. That is the fourth source called Agama tradition. Buddhism and other scriptures, they use logic and they take Vedas wherever it supports their logic. So they have a very selective attitude to Vedas. What is a selective attitude to Vedas? Logic is primary and Vedas is applicable only when it appeals to their logic. Wherever it doesn't appeal to their logic, they say Vedas are wrong. Seriya? We are always a mixture of materialistic and Buddhist. Most of the human beings are a mixture of these two only. What is the fourth source of knowledge? The fourth source of knowledge, Agama tradition says, through logic you understand, logic will not help. Through logic you understand the limitations of logic. So, then what knowledge reveals Brahman? Then what knowledge reveals God? That is why if somebody says, I have seen God, now you will be very happy to listen to that man. If somebody says, I felt God today, Abdina, you will want to listen to that man. If somebody comes and says, like Kena Upanishad says, senses cannot take you there. Mind cannot take you there. Intellect cannot take you there. Nah. You keep your knowledge, we keep our knowledge. Therefore, Vedanta becomes the fourth independent source of knowledge. And what is the subject matter here? A subject matter that cannot be revealed through Pratyaksha, Anumana and Upamana. a subject matter. The knowledge means should have a subject matter. No. The subject matter of Vedanta is such that it cannot be revealed through Pratyaksha, Anumana and Upamanam. For knowledge of Brahman is unique only to Vedanta. Knowledge of God is unique to Vedanta. Vedanta means scriptures. Agama means scriptures, shastras. Whatever talks about God, you can take it as a shastra. But they should talk about God in a way where the other three sources are not able to reveal. That is why it is very easy to understand what is a scripture, what is not a scripture. It is very easy to understand. But difficult, you will know what is a scripture, what is not a scripture. What is the definition of a scripture? It will talk about God in a way that Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana cannot be used. If Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana also is used to talk about God, then you understand that it is not a scripture. Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. Kenopanishad. Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. Tadeva Brahma, 5 times he repeats. Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. It means what? It cannot be known by any other sources. I have seen God, and also God is there because it is said in Vedas, it is not a valid source of knowledge. Why? Because when he says, I have seen God, it is what knowledge it is. When a person says, I have seen God, what knowledge it is? God will not punish you. Yeah, what kind of knowledge it is? When a person says, I have seen God, now what kind of knowledge it is? Huh? What kind of knowledge it is? When a person says, I have seen God, it is wrong knowledge. It is error. It is wrong knowledge. Therefore, it is not accepted as a valid source of knowledge to talk about God. Are you able to follow now? If a person says, I have felt God. When I was sitting on the mountain top on that particular day, 10:45 suddenly I felt God. Abdina, what do you understand? What do you understand? Chumma dheirima sollunga. It is error. For you cannot talk about God in that way. Look at the precision with which they have explained it. Because it is not possible through that. Supposing if they say, பார்க்கலாம் இல்ல சார், ஃபீலிங் எல்லாம் வரல, பட் ஆனா உங்க கிளாஸ்ல the way you expound it, I got it அப்படின்னா அது கரெக்ட் நாலேஜா? அதுக்கு மட்டும் நல்லா தலையாற்றல் எல்லாரும். What is this knowledge? It is also wrong knowledge. Why? Because it cannot be, the subject matter cannot be discussed by these methods. Then through what we discuss Brahman, then we are left with only one source of knowledge to talk about Brahman. What is that only source of knowledge that is left with to talk about Brahman? It is called Agama. Agama means the sayings, the utterances of the self-realized sages. The utterances of the self-realized sages is what is known as Agama tradition. Agama tradition na இது வந்து எங்க வீட்ல இதான் சார் பழக்கம் tradition. This is our house tradition, not in that sense. அது traditionலாம் கிடையாது. உங்களுக்கு comfort. What is Agama here? The utterances of the self-realized masters of the past. Therefore, when it comes to God, when it comes to Brahman, now you are convinced. What is the only source of knowledge to talk about God? Brahman. What is the only source to talk about God now? Brahman. What is the only source to talk about Brahman, God now? What is the one and only source? Huh? Agama, Acharya, ellam thappu thappa adikirathu. Vedanta. Agama means Vedanta. So Vedanta becomes the only source of knowledge. Are you able to follow how we conclude? Are you able to follow how we have logically deducted? It is not a phonetic attachment to. It is like saying, physical property படிக்கணும்னா physics படிச்சாதான் you can know the density of the physics தான் படிக்கணும். Maths படிச்சாதான் you will know that you can't say why are you phonetic to mathematics. You cannot ask because it is the only way to gain that particular knowledge. For the knowledge of mathematics cannot be gained through studying economics. If by studying economics you can gain the knowledge of mathematics, then mathematics doesn't become an independent source of knowledge. It is also part of economics. Then why do you call it as a separate source of knowledge? Separate source of knowledge means the subject matter has to be unique to that inquiry. It has to be unique. It has to be unique and it can be revealed only by that particular inquiry. If it can be revealed by another inquiry, if it can be revealed by another source, then you don't need a separate pramanam for that. So, Vedanta becomes Vedas. Vedanta becomes the source, not the source. Vedanta becomes the only source for gaining the knowledge of Brahman. The conclusion the conclusion ku mundina step varaikum we are with you, sir. The conclusion vandel pathela only Vedanta that we cannot accept because we are all very liberal people. We don't want to become fanatics. We don't want to turn into this. We are all very liberal and we are all very open-minded people. Therefore, we will gain knowledge from all sources. You can gain confusion from all sources. Knowledge you can get only from very many sources. Through many sources, you will get only confusion. Confusion வேணும்னா நிறைய source வச்சுக்கணும். Knowledge வேணும்னா you have to have only one source. That is why it is called pramanam. The Sanskrit word for source of knowledge is pramanam. Pramanam means it gives the knowledge, it teaches about the object as it is. It reveals the object as it is. And Vedanta reveals Brahman as it is. Vedanta reveals Brahman, God as it is. Therefore, Vedanta becomes the only source. The moment you have come to this conclusion that Vedanta is the only source for gaining the knowledge of God, you have developed what is known as Shraddha. This is called Shraddha, which we saw recently. Yeah, I think just now we saw that verse, no? Shraddhavan labate jnanam. It's so fresh in my memory. So this is Shraddha. What is Shraddha? Shraddha is a conviction that Vedas, Vedanta is the only source, is the only independent source for gaining the knowledge of God. Ethics and morals, you can gain knowledge through inference. Morality, ethics, you can gain through inference and comparison. Upamanam, anumanam, you can gain that knowledge. But knowledge of God, you can get only through Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. That knowledge, you can get it only through Vedanta. So, Vedanta becomes the only independent authoritative source for knowledge of Brahman. That is why another word for Vedanta is Brahma Vidya. Vedanta word is popular now only. In the last 300-400 years, it is more popular. Previously, it used to be called as Brahma Vidya. Knowledge of Brahman. Why? Because the subject matter is Brahman, and only this can reveal what Brahman is. These are the 4 sources of knowledge. What are the 4 sources? Pratyaksha, Anumanam, Upamanam, and Agama. Logic, reason, inference, all that is used. All that is used. But God is not a logical conclusion. God is not a logic, therefore there is God. You cannot say that. No, God is not a logical conclusion. Why God is not a logical conclusion? Because by bringing in a superior logic, you can always change. Are you able to follow? Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, the knowledge that you gain through Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana has no anta. The knowledge that you gain through Vedas has a anta. That is why it is called Veda Anta. Again I repeat. The knowledge that you gain through Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana alone doesn't have any anta. Why? Because it keeps changing. Where can you say science ends? Where can you say mathematics end? Where can you say knowledge end? But here it ends. So all other knowledges do not end. Here is the knowledge that brings the inquiry to a logical conclusion. There is no conclusion. That is why science can never conclusively conclude anything. You can never conclusively conclude. It is okay under conditions. And those conditions themselves are fluid. And those conditions themselves are fluid. Therefore, it is called Veda Anta. Why it is called Veda Anta? The end of knowledge. Because knowing this, you say, I know everything. Knowing this, you say, I know everything. There is nothing more to be known. Knowledge, the inquiry comes to an end. The search comes to an end. Inquiry means search. Inquiry means search. The search must come to an end. Here, we bring it to a conclusion. That is why it's called the end of knowledge. Who will want to gain the end of knowledge? One who has this thirst to inquire, will want to know will want to go to the end. What is known as mumukshatva. Are you able to follow? So all other the scientific knowledges, though it is logical, but they call it as logical because, and still it is accepted. Why? Though it doesn't conclusively conclude, it is still accepted as a valid source of knowledge, though it is erroneous by nature. Are you able to follow? See, if you cannot conclusively conclude, means what? All worldly knowledges are erroneous by nature. They are erroneous. So there cannot be a complete knowledge. There cannot be a true knowledge. Erroneous knowledge means not true. Here, the Vedanta is an independent source of true knowledge. In that sense also it is called the Satyam. This is the knowledge that speaks the truth, we say. In that sense also it is Satyam, because conclusively concluded, after which there is no change in the conclusion. Yeah. Illana idu vandu namba amendment மாதிரிலாம் கிடையாது. The knowledge of God is not amendments, no. இன்னைக்கு ஒரு conclusion, அப்புறமா இன்னொரு 10 பேர் சேர்ந்து another conclusion. It is not subject to change. Therefore, that which is subject to change, you can't use those methodology to understand something which doesn't change. Therefore, that is a separate subject. This is a separate subject altogether. Vedantic tradition helps you to gain the light of consciousness. The Vedantic tradition helps you to gain the light of consciousness. So we have seen the four. What are the four we have seen? Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana and Agama. Next week what I will do, we will read the text. Today I explained the four. Next week I will read the text. As I am reading the text, there are a couple more left, which I will discuss in the next session. So next session also we will be studying this four. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana and Agama.